The March jobs report is out, and it is not good. It shows that 701,000 jobs were lost. The unemployment rate is at 4.4%.
That's exactly right. Let's bring in Stuart Varney, host of Varney & Company on Fox Business Network. Stuart, what's your reaction to this?
Okay, let me repeat those numbers because they are indeed pretty bad. We lost 701,000 jobs in the month of March, and the unemployment rate went up to 4.4%. Now, that's bad, but it doesn't really paint a true picture of the employment market as we speak. This survey week for the March jobs report was early in the month of March, so it didn't really capture the full impact of the virus on our economy. So you can expect later in April, these jobless numbers will go way up. Perhaps a better indicator of the true state of employment is the fact that 10 million people applied for jobless benefits just in the last 2 weeks. And I might add that Maria was just told by a Fed governor, Maria Bartiromo, on Fox Business, that the unemployment rate now is actually closer to 10% already. And by the way, we've got a big investment firm, Morgan Stanley, suggesting that the economy between now and June will shrink by 38%. Now that is dire indeed.
You know, Stuart, what is dire as well is when the next number comes out. Keep in mind, when the president ordered people to stay at home, currently there are, and various governors have as well, currently there are stay-at-home orders in states that account for 82% of our GDP. If you got 82% of the GDP people not going to work, that's going to be ugly.
Oh, you can see this. I mean, we've got TSA checkpoints at airports. 2 million fewer passengers are being processed every day than 1 year ago. The flights that take off are essentially empty. Ridership on public transportation is down 75% because if people are not going to work, they're not commuting. Traffic has even eased up throughout California. That's extraordinary. All across the country, you've stopped people going to work, so the economy is at a dead stop. And as Morgan Stanley suggests, it's actually shrinking. We've never seen anything like this before, and we won't get over it until such time as those stay-at-home orders begin to be relaxed. At that point, you might see things improve, but not until then.
All right, so Stuart, in 2008, these numbers were intriguing because we wanted to find out how the banking system was going to repair itself, how many people were affected, and how to fix it with TARP. Now these are not intriguing. This is a self-inflicted wound. It's a slow-motion car wreck that we brought on ourselves because we've been told this is the only way to do it. We should reverse it. We should talk about how many people are working because the number's going to get terrible. This is only going to reinforce what was demanded by our government and the world body, that we stop working, stop talking to each other, stop being productive, stop going to gyms, stop going out to dinner. So to me, I'm even surprised. I'd rather find out the 20% that are still on their jobs. How lucky we are to be doing this. We're the anomaly now.
Well, look, that makes a fair point, Brian, but you can't sugarcoat exactly where we are. The government has ordered a shutdown of the economy on medical grounds, and there'll be an enormous political battle when we start to see that curve bending in the right direction. When that happens, there will be a political battle as to how soon we relax these stay-at-home orders. That'll be a monumental battle because people who care about the economy and the damage being done to the economy will want to open it up again as soon as possible. On the other side, you're going to have people who say, look, you open up the economy, you open up the stay-at-home rules too soon, and you'll have a second wave of the virus go through with even more damage. There's a political battle coming, and it's based on the state of the economy, which at this point, Brian, is dire. Flat out, on its back, dire situation.
Stuart, when we look at that number, yeah, it's bad, but does that include the people in the restaurant industry, let's say, who were laid off, but they're going to get their jobs back? And through this stimulus money, the restaurant owners are not going to have to pay that money. It's coming from the federal government.
Okay. Let's be clear. The money that's starting to go out today, this $2.2 trillion, that is not stimulus. that is rescue. That's money going to the people who've been laid off or out of work through no fault of their own. It's money going to their paychecks. It's called the paycheck protection thing. And small businesses can go to their banks as of today and get a loan which transfers into a grant if they don't lay people off. So the money is being pushed out there now, but don't get the idea that somehow or other this stimulates the economy. It doesn't. It rescues millions of individuals. The stimulus comes later when we start to relax the stay-at-home rules and the economy can expand. That's when you need the stimulus. That's when it kicks in.
That's right. I like the way that you put it, that it is a rescue package to rescue the businesses and for all the Americans, Stuart, as well, who are simply doing what Dr. Fauci told us about 35 minutes ago, and that is the only way at this stage, before there is a vaccine and we're uncertain about treatments, the only way to turn that corner on this deadly thing is to stay at home. And that's why governors and the federal government have mobilized to not only order people to stay in place, but also they've got this rescue bill. And today is the day that small businesses officially can start applying. And as provided they keep the people on the books, which is going to help the people who they have furloughed, they will not have to repay those loans.
That's true. They become a grant. If you take this government money and you don't lay people off, if you do that, you don't lay people off, then it's not a loan which has to be repaid. It's a grant which doesn't have to be repaid. There's an enormous amount of money going out here. I think it's $377 billion. And Treasury Secretary Mnuchin says, look, if we run out of that $377 billion, we'll go back to Congress, we'll get some more. It's a rescue operation, and it starts today.
But Stuart, really quickly, that number we see at the bottom of the screen, does that include the people that were laid off that will come back to work once this is all over?
You mean the 701,000, the unemployed?
Because the majority of people are going to get their jobs back.
That is the number of people of... We don't know that. I suspect they will.
If you use that
how
grant
many
money,
get their jobs back, I don't know.
But the only way to use that grant money is if you give them their jobs back. So all those small businesses, they're going to have to pay those loans back if they don't rehire. So of course they're going to rehire. You would think.
Yeah, look, there is some confusion here. There is some confusion here. If you're a small business operator, you're in deep trouble. You go to the bank today and you say, look, here's my payroll for the last 8 weeks. They will give you that money as a grant if you don't lay people off. They'll give it to you as a loan if you do lay people off, and you've got to repay that loan. So let's not get any confusion here. I don't know who's included in which number, but the rescue operation starts today, and it's a big operation.
And there might be another. Thanks, Stuart Varney. We'll watch you on FBN from 9 till noon. Stuart Varney. Meanwhile, coming up next.